So, the Los Angeles Lakers, just 1 year removed from winning a championship, find themselves out of the postseason race after just one round of basketball. Of course, this result prompts a plethora of questions that need to be answered. Is this more evidence that last year's bubble run was indeed just fluky? Can the Lakers, from a front office perspective, bounce back and retool this offense? Do the concerns about Anthony Davis's durability make it impossible for him to be the next franchise star out in LA? And a question that many people want me to answer, what does this first round exit mean for LeBron James and his legacy? But before I get into all of that, I do believe it is necessary to highlight the Phoenix Suns and congratulate them for their effort. Before the series began, despite the fact that the Suns were indeed the second best team out west, they were underdogs. And what makes this even more special is that before the season even began, many people didn't even believe the Phoenix Suns would be able to make a postseason appearance. Now, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and touch upon the Lakers. This entire season for LA desperately needs some context, because just labeling this Lakers team as a 7th seed first round exit doesn't properly depict how talented they potentially could have been if everything worked in their favor. Even if we were to disregard the shortened offseason thanks to the quick turnaround, the Lakers still had a lot of hurdles to overcome. There were a lot of changes in the roster, not only at the beginning of the year, but also midway through the season. Thanks to injuries, key pieces were consistently in and out of the lineup practically all year long, and due to the changes as well as injuries, finding a consistent rotation and even finding the identity for this roster was practically impossible. And how impossible that feat was became crystal clear in the first round of the playoffs. Montrezl Harrell's impact offensively when it comes to his energy and impact inside the paint was undeniable, and his production offensively was certainly a great thing for the Los Angeles Lakers all year long. However, his concerns and woes on the defensive end is something that the Lakers not only struggled with throughout the entire season, but played a huge factor in their first round matchup, so much so where he practically didn't even play the entire series. And Marc Gasol really was no better. Throughout the entire regular season, he struggled to find his shot, and defensively he was marginalized due to lack of mobility. Andre Drummond, the mid-season acquisition, was supposed to be able to aid both big men in the front court on both sides of the floor, but unfortunately the mid-season addition was more of a negative than a positive. Defensively, Drummond looked uncoordinated on switches, lethargic on closeouts, and was a worse rim protector than expected. And due to his inability to space out the floor offensively, Drummond was indeed unplayable throughout this series. And then on the other side of the floor, the lack of shooting from the role players certainly didn't help the Lakers whatsoever. Between Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Kuzma, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Alex Caruso, and Wesley Matthews, combined they shot an abysmal 25.5% from three and had a true shooting percentage south of 47%. And to give you even more details on how embarrassing this shooting performance was from these 5 players, combined they attempted 110 three-pointers. Out of those 110 three-pointers, according to NBA.com, 103 of them were either open or wide open attempts, meaning that all but 7 three-point attempts were uncontested from these 5 players, and they still shot that poorly from deep. So quite frankly, regardless of the health of Anthony Davis and LeBron, or whatever narrative you may subscribe to why LeBron played so poorly, the Lakers still would have struggled immensely to win this series due to the poor performance of key role players. But it would definitely help if Anthony Davis was healthy.
It's the left groin, and down he goes. And it lasted all of 5.5 minutes.
If we're strictly talking talent, Anthony Davis is one of the best players I've ever witnessed in my entire life. However, a wise man once said, the best ability is availability, and that certainly applies to AD. Fun fact, in the 9 years that Davis has been in the league, there has only been 2 seasons in which he's been able to play more than 75 games. The first season was the 2018 campaign, and the second season was last year. And because of that fact, it does lead me to believe that there is a possibility that last year's postseason run in the bubble was a bit fluky, or at bare minimum, The Los Angeles Lakers benefited significantly thanks to the 4-month hiatus from the league, which allowed Anthony Davis not to play an extended period of time all at once. Something that this organization is going to need from AD moving forward. And to go a step further, just being available won't be enough because the Lakers would need Anthony Davis to also play at an all-time high. And last year's playoff run is proof of that. So that level of excellence is necessary, especially when you're talking about an organization that is built a roster that is so top-heavy that they are solely dependent on 2 players playing at all-time highs just to compete. And I will go into further details when I talk about LeBron later on in the video, but when one of your stars is aging and the other star is injury prone, moving forward, there's just nothing guaranteed for this LA team because, of course, the Lakers just can't cross their fingers and hope that the NBA in the middle of the season will go through a 4-month break. Now, of course, the most logical solution to that would be just to add more talent to the roster so it's not as top heavy. But unfortunately, the Lakers won't be able to address the lack of talent on this team anytime soon because financially speaking, they've already committed north of $120 million entering next season. And that's with Dennis Schroeder, Wesley Matthews, Alex Caruso, Markieff Morris, and Andre Drummond all coming off of the books. So yes, if we were to just reduce Anthony Davis as a talent, it is undeniable what he brings to the table. But unfortunately, due to nagging injury problems, there is nothing that is guaranteed. And if that wasn't concerning enough, we still haven't even touched upon the alarming regression of LeBron James.
And it looked like LeBron James put his hand up. He's fatigued, wanting to come out of the game.
He's played 36 minutes. He's taken 21 shots and he's made 24 points.
Now, when it comes to LeBron, I honestly don't know where to start outside of saying that this is the worst postseason series I've ever seen LeBron play since the 2011 finals. The poor free throw shooting was worse than normal. The decision making was so bad that it resulted in very questionable turnovers. The inability to finish around the lane is certainly a concern. And just the overall effort that LeBron gave throughout this series was so lackluster that honestly, I don't believe it's that far of a stretch from claiming that he quit on his teammates periodically throughout this series. Now, if you don't want to jump to that conclusion and just highlight that LeBron is 36 years old, he's in year 18, a quick turnaround from last postseason run, and so he could just be tired, and that's all understandable and respectable as well. But if that is the true outcome of what we're taking away from LeBron in this series, then the Lakers have a lot of questions that have to be answered sooner than later. Very similar about the concerns that I highlighted with Anthony Davis, a lot of them still hold true with LeBron as well because of the way that this roster is constructed. For the better part of LeBron's career, he has been so talented, so miraculous, so imposing that traditional logic on what we deem as the right way to build a championship roster has completely gone out the window. Chemistry, flexible salaries, keeping young players on the roster to bring up more talent in a more financially safe way doesn't really matter because LeBron has just been that great. And looking at how the LeBron era has been constructed so far with the Lakers, a lot of that still holds true. But again, it works and results in a championship like it did last year because LeBron in last year's postseason run was able to perform at an all-time high. But if this now means that in the first round of a playoff run that LeBron is so tired that he gives questionable effort, that now means that the way that you would have to construct a team around LeBron to compete for a championship would have to change significantly. But unfortunately, like I highlighted before with Anthony Davis, that may not be the case for the Lakers since they've already tied up a significant amount of money in this roster, which leaves the Lakers in a situation where they don't have that many options. And if they can't consistently rely on Anthony Davis and LeBron to play at all-time highs every single postseason run, or at least for the next 2 or 3 playoffs, then I highly doubt that the Lakers will reach the same level of success that we saw from them just last year. And finally, for the people out there who want to know what do I believe that this first round exit means to LeBron James' legacy, honestly, I have to laugh. The reason why I'm making this part of the video such a small fraction of it all is because this first round exit is a small fraction in LeBron James' career. In my opinion, it just doesn't matter. You know why? Because I understand context. I understand that LeBron is getting older. I understand his co-star was not 100% healthy. I understand that there were a lot of hurdles that this organization, this roster, and LeBron James had to overcome just to find themselves in the playoffs to begin with. So no, I do not believe a first round exit means anything to one of the greatest players of all time. The same reason why I don't believe a first round exit means anything of importance to Kobe Bryant's career, to Magic Johnson's career, and yes, even to Michael Jordan's career. But the reason why we're having this conversation isn't because of people like me. Ironically, the reason why LeBron's legacy is even up for debate after this first round exit is because of LeBron fans. See, throughout my entire life talking about basketball, I never remember having any discussion at all about a top 30, top 20, top 10, and especially not one of the two greatest players of all times and their legacies being at jeopardy because of a first round exit.
KD's lost in the first round, Steph's lost in the first round, Tim Duncan lost the first round 5 times.
Until the past few years when LeBron fans wanted to make some horrible argument about how first round exits play a pivotal role in Michael Jordan's career. And in my opinion, it never has. The way that I view LeBron compared to Michael Jordan has literally nothing to do with first round exits, because I know that a player of that caliber more than likely will not get knocked out in the first round unless unique circumstances are playing a huge role, such as injuries, lack of experience, or just the simple fact that one team is significantly more talented than the other. But to the LeBron fans who attempted to make this an argument for the past 3 or 4 years, I'm sorry, but this is what you asked for. You asked for people to go into more details about what a player did or did not accomplish. You asked for context, and even when you gave the context, you didn't properly do it in terms of Jordan couldn't make it until he had Scottie Pippen. Then don't expect there to be that much context when people point out the fact that LeBron got knocked out the first round with Anthony Davis. It's the same concept. And that is something that I have attempted to warn delusional LeBron fans about for several years now. Things first, let's point out the fact that it's very ironic. I find it very ironic how so many LeBron fans will sit there and tell you that, oh, don't worry, it's okay that LeBron lost in the finals, because if you look at the team that he lost to, it's one of the greatest teams of all time. But then, here's the funny part. When Michael Jordan loses to, one of the greatest teams of all time and doesn't even have an all-star on his team with the Detroit Pistons and the Boston Celtics, all of a sudden it's like, bro, MJ couldn't get out the first round, bro. No, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. It's literally the same argument that you're making. When you put these very specific, custom-made parameters around these all-time greats in their careers, then at some point, something is going to happen where, unfortunately, your argument, your debate, your reasoning will be flawed because, of course, LeBron's career isn't over with yet. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Please let me know what you think about the video down low in the comment section. Everything from LeBron's legacy, what the Lakers should do next. I didn't even really get into Kyle Kuzma too much, but I'm pretty sure people believe that he should be traded, and that's definitely well overdue. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you can be updated when I drop videos on this channel. And until next time, I will see you all later. Peace.